Women rights group Equality Now has filed a case against the Tanzanian government at the Africa Court on Human Rights. That's over its ban on pregnant girls from attending school. The organisation says that the ban, which was passed in 2002, is discriminatory and has trapped many girls in a cycle of poverty. To tell us more, we're now joined via Zoom from Kenya, Nairobi, by Equality Now's regional coordinator for the Africa office, Judy, Gitau. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, so this sounds quite sad that this is something that's part of everyday normal law in Tanzania. Take us through how it became a norm in the country and why and how they've justified it.
So the practice of kicking girls out of school once they're pregnant or even after they've given birth has been going on in Tanzania since independence, really, since 1961. But during that duration until 2002, it was simply a practice and not necessarily entrenched in law. From 2002, it's been entrenched in law in a policy that then is implemented by head teachers across the school. But then in 2017, there was an exacerbation of this practice because of many people within the leadership of the government of Tanzania insisting that it needs to be implemented. It is quite sad because it's implemented especially in public schools, which means it's disproportionately affecting poor girls, poor women and girls who then can no longer access education, not just for the duration of their pregnancy, but even after they give birth, they're not allowed back in school.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about those consequences. Loss of education, but I guess lifelong challenges for them because you can never quite catch up.
Oh, absolutely. And so let's just begin with a raft of violations that are then visited on such a girl. So many of them wind up being married off at 12, 13, because their families, one, would not be able to support the young children that have been born as a result of the pregnancy. Secondly, the families would not be able to support them to, for example, join private school or any other options that could possibly be available. And so many of these girls are married off at that particular age. Others still are then trapped in that cycle of poverty that resulted in them being in the pregnant condition in the first place, because many of these girls are either victims of sexual violence or victims of sexual exploitation, finding older, perhaps more mature adults who could support them financially and winding up pregnant in the first instance. And so with them being kicked out or not having an education, they simply don't have a future. And so it's really quite unfair.
What is it? What do the authorities say about it, that they think that this is okay?
There are several reasons, and whilst because we are at the heart of the case, I cannot speak to the merit of the case. Right. The state has responded to the high numbers of teenage pregnancies, and it's sad that their response to teenage pregnancies is to ban pregnant girls from attending schools almost as a punitive measure to make the girls not get pregnant, as though it really is something that many or most of them do willingly. But secondly, the state has on occasion, different government officials have been on occasion captured on record, indicating that the pregnant girls would be a bad influence on the rest of their colleagues in school, which too hasn't been proved in any way or form, because both the girls in school are the same girls within the community, and if there's any influence to be done, it will be done within the community as well. And so this is a situation that faces young girls in Tanzania.
And one can only look at this as, again, through a patriarchal lens, because no consequences for the people that make these girls pregnant.
Absolutely, absolutely. You see, there's a cloak of, so shall we say, a pretense, if you will, because the laws or the policy that's in place indicates that persons who are pregnant would be punished, and there's also a law that punishes anybody who impregnates a pregnant schoolgirl. But there is hardly anybody who's being arrested for getting any schoolgirls pregnant. But on the contrary, all the girls without fail are being kicked out should they wind up pregnant. And so indeed, this is really disproportionate treatment of children and of human beings, if you will.
Do we have any idea what kind of numbers we're dealing with, the percentage of teenage girls perhaps that are falling pregnant, just so that we can get a sense of just how problematic this is?
What we can give you is some of the statistics on record with regards to the number of girls who've been kicked out of school. I mean, the number of teenagers who get pregnant is much wider, but then we have between 8,000 and 10,000 girls being kicked out of school annually as a result of getting pregnant. And so if you count that from 2002, it tells you the demographic, just the total population of girls who've been denied education as a result of pregnancy. And please allow me to underscore, this is not just for the duration of the pregnancy, but even if they give birth, they are not allowed back into school.
So once you've given birth, you're banned from the school system forever?
Yes. I mean, the statement that is put out is that the education system is not for parents. It's for students. And so once a girl is pregnant, she's deemed to be a parent and therefore not eligible to access education.
Do you think that, because this I would imagine is not peculiar to Tanzania, that other countries have gone and perhaps still need to deal with this? I know that you won a case in Sierra Leone, I believe, over the same issue.
Yeah. Yes, we did win a case, and we're very happy about that. We did win a case late last year, in December last year, and the government turned a new leaf and overturned the decision in response to the court decision, and have gone further to address the underlying issues that have resulted in the girls getting pregnant, which are issues such as sexual violence or ensuring that children have access to reproductive health education, for example. And so it was a great win in Sierra Leone, and one that we hope is picked up across the continent. Because whilst on the one hand, we have countries that are having progressive policies, including return to school policies for girls who wind up pregnant, and as well as reproductive health and rights, as well as, shall we say, just addressing the whole school space and making it safe for students to be able to access school. We have other countries that are practicing retrogressive practices such as this. And so whilst we were successful in Sierra Leone, that we have to yet again file a case against the government of Tanzania just tells you that the trend is far from over.
All right, so let's try and understand what's happening with these young girls and who the people are that are impregnating them. How young are you finding some of these girls might be?
We've got varied cases, and again, I will limit myself because we are at the heart and soul of this particular case, and these girls are witnesses in the case that we filed at the African court. But we have a varying demographic. We have girls in primary school being kicked out, girls as young as 12. Who've gotten pregnant, some as a result. I mean, obviously at the age of 12, they are not at the age of consent. We have girls who are victims of rape. We have girls who have engaged in consensual sex with their boyfriends in school, consensual in the context of them being in a relationship. We've got a varied number, and so the ages range between 12 to 17. And the primary issue, the primary constant, is that majority of these girls come from families that are not well-to-do, and so we have that they vary, either that these girls have been sexually violated, or have been sexually exploited, or have little to no knowledge with regards to reproductive health and rights. And so at the end of the day, the underlying issue needs to be addressed. I mean, the government knows and has acknowledged that teenage pregnancies is a problem in the country. And so the response needs to be proportionate to the problem in the country.
One of the things that we see quite a bit here in South Africa is this notion of sugar daddies. And these are older men who come with money at young, vulnerable children in school. And if you have nothing, it becomes difficult for you to say no to sexual favors when you're being given money.
Indeed, it isn't a problem unique to your context. We have it, for example, in Kenya. We have it in Tanzania. We had it in Sierra Leone when we were filing the case. And this is what we speak to when we talk about sexual exploitation, because then the adult in that relationship is taking advantage of the minor who doesn't have means to be able to access school, to be able to access basic needs, for example, sanitary towels, or any of these other things that are day-to-day needs. And so you find that those relationships are pegged on on exploitation and inevitably result in these girls being able to be getting pregnant at this tender age. Obviously, if these children are not in a position to access basic needs, there's no way they could, for example, negotiate, a safe relationship. And even if they were, in the law, such relationships are illegal because these girls are not in the age of consent. And so prima facie, this is an illegal relationship, this is sexual exploitation. And so there really needs to be a legal framework that speaks to that. But more importantly, there needs to be a response to that as different countries address the underlying issue, which is having a social safety net with regards to basic needs, especially for school-going girls, because what is at stake is education, and education really is a key to life. And so there really is a need for a deeper understanding and a deeper interrogation of this as a problem and a comprehensive response to it as a problem. So whilst we are addressing it from the point of view of education and challenging it as such, I think we are calling upon different countries to actually respond to it as a more holistic issue so that children can learn, girls can learn.
All right, so we're running out of time, but perhaps finally, you're attacking this on a legal front, but I suspect that much more work needs to happen on a societal level, because culturally across the continent, there's great shame in a child or a woman even having a child out of wedlock, and we need to get over hurdles like that even before dealing with the law as well.
Yes, it's true. This is not a singular problem or a problem that can be approached from one direction. We need to move the communities with us. We need to move the hearts and minds of the communities with us. If I may draw from our example in Sierra Leone, we worked with the communities. We worked with civil society organizations within the communities that engage with the girls firstly in school. So within the context of girls' clubs, for example, is that you have conversations within the schools with both boys and girls to be able to understand issues. We worked with organizations that work within the communities and would have what we refer to as intergenerational community dialogues, so that on a market day, you bring this up as a topic and allow it to be a safe space to interrogate and understand how it is this is a problem for the community. And then at the top level, having an engagement also with the leadership of a country so that they then address the policy, legal issues, which then trickle down to enforce what already the community has changed. And so, yes, we do recognize it's a bigger problem than a legal one, but we always start with the law as a foundation that sets the standard, which then allows all of these other issues to arise and meet the standard.
Judy, Gitau, asante sana. Thanks very much indeed, and we wish you the best in court, but beyond that, actually, in society in general. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right, that's Judy Gitau, Regional Coordinator for Equality Now, and that's the Africa office talking to us from Nairobi in Kenya.